Today's guest is a transformational coach, thought leader, author, and a teacher on the powerful principle of love. For over 30 years, he has studied organized religion to find the element that unites humanity and share the message with those who need it. Welcome to the show, Juan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Mirror Talk podcast. I really appreciate your presence and your time right now, and I'm looking forward to everything I'm going to learn from you today. So you are one of the youngest. Sorry, you are the youngest of four children and was raised by a single father. Please, can you share your life journey so far? How you struggled with an undiagnosed learning ability. Oh, sorry, let me start again. Sorry. Please, can you share your life journey so far? How you struggled with an undiagnosed learning disability, joining the US Air Force, and receiving multiple merits?
Well, I tell you, that in of itself, to me, was a miracle in so many ways. I basically went through a time where I was really frustrated to the point where all the way through my academic career, my academic experiences were very demoralizing, to be honest with you. I mean, I was placed in special education at a very young age, but they never ever diagnosed me. So all I felt like was I was falling behind and falling behind and falling behind. That portion of my life left me at a place at graduation, which I was 17 years old when I graduated, never failed any classes, but I didn't feel like I was prepared for life. And it was fear. I was afraid. It was scary. And so I basically turned to the only thing that I knew at the time, and that was to join the military. Because I didn't, to be honest with you, the branches of the service that I ended up going into, my first branch I was going to go into, I wanted to go into the Army. And there was a special program that was in the Army that was going to allow you to help you go to school. And I didn't qualify for that one. And so the Air Force told me, you can come into the Air Force. And I was like, for real? And so I said, okay. And I went into the Air Force. And at that time, I didn't want anything to do with school. I was fed up with school because it was so demoralizing. I mean, to be honest with you, I always felt that I never measured up. And so I went into the Air Force, and my entire life changed in the sense of I still didn't know I had a learning disability. But what I learned in the midst of that was all of the different attitudes of love that I could implement in my life to help me on this journey called life, because that's all we're all looking for. Yeah. We're all looking for a way, a clear journey in our life experience. Yeah. And so often, and not very often at all, we're playing this thing by the seat of our pants. We're basically just winging it. We don't really know what's to expect, and we're just gonna do it the way we know how to do it. Yeah. And what I saw in the military was something that I had learned or I had heard of in my many years of being in religion. And that was that God is love. And I never was able to understand how that was made real, how that was applied, how to apply love in a way that it was practical, and that I could manifest that thing in my life as a result of it. Yeah. And so while I was in the military, it basically showed me what it meant to love,
mm,
how to love, what to expect from love, all of the components, and why it's so necessary to love.
yeah,
And so you would think that that's almost paradoxical or contradicting, that I would learn about love in the military. And the military was this thing that was considered a or destructive vehicle.
mm,
But what it did was, with inside of it, it showed me what happens when you have unity.
yes,
When you have unity
mm-hmm,
focused on one goal,
mm,
one object, one goal, everybody is in it for
mm-hmm,
the same purpose,
mm,
what you can accomplish.
mm,
And I saw love as that vehicle that brought us together, because it was that commonality that we all had that made us all going in the same direction.
yeah,
And so I began to draw the parallels to the fact that, why is love so important? What is it about life
mm,
that we need one another?
mm,
We all have this human common denominator
yeah,
called humanity.
mm-hmm,
And once you understand humanity that's on this platform called life,
mm,
we begin to get focused and life becomes clearer, because we have a goal.
yeah,
And that goal for all of humanity is to preserve it,
yes,
to preserve humanity, to protect it and to preserve it
mm,
for the next generation.
yeah,
And that is what love does, connecting one of us or one to the other,
mm-hmm,
so that we might be able to preserve this experience called humanity for
yeah,
the next generation.
mm, yes,
And
yes,
so the one thing that we could do is, if we love one another, we connect with one another,
mm,
then we can grow. We get fulfillment from one another,
mm,
and the full cycle goes and continues to the next generation.
yes,
But it takes love. It
mm,
takes us the ability to be able to love one another.
mm,
But you gotta go through a process to be able to do that. And so that's what I realized and I understood there. And then I began to understand the steps and the attitudes that go along with love,
mm,
that puts you in the position so that you can reach your outcomes, reach your goals that you desire.
yes,
So that was an abbreviated version of the process of what I went through and how I got to where I am now, where I'm at a place where I've reached what I conceive and persist or consider that everybody should look for in success.
mm,
And that's a place of peace,
mm-hmm,
a place of contentment,
yes,
and a place that has all of my needs met.
yeah, yes,
That's what
yes,
love generates and gives me, so that I no longer have to compare myself with anybody else
mm,
because of what I don't have, but being able to maximize what I do have, and
yes,
being able to be content with that in which I do have, because it's important, it's necessary, and it's sufficient.
yes, you're right. That's true. That's true. See, I'd love to dive back to a little bit to the origin.
Mhm.
You are the youngest of four children, and you are raised by a single father. How did this influence the part of life that you are on right now? How did it influence, your motivation, your inspiration to go to study about love, to check into organized religions, and to check for what really is love for us as humanity?
Well, let me just start back. Okay, my mom died when I was 6 years old.
Hmm.
Okay, and my dad became a widow when I was 6 years old, but had four kids.
Hmm.
Um, we grew up. I grew up for the first 6 years, or actually the first 9 years or so, in a part of town that was neglected, so to speak. We were okay. We lived in a single family home, but as it relates to the area in which we were in,
Yeah.
it was on the lower side on the other side of the track, so to speak.
Mm.
And my mother, which was a community activist, so to speak, um, she cared for the community. She cared for the children in the community. And that led her in with other parents in the group to formulate to form a group called the Parents Club, which then were able to go and petition the city on the behalf of the community.
Okay.
And so she became the president of this organization. And that, I have to say, was that heart that I gained from my mom. Now, when my mom died, my dad became the president, and they continued to pursue those activities and those things that were important to our community.
Yeah.
And to the point where they end up building a recreation center in our community named after my mother. And so it was that heart and that desire to want to make a difference. I think I got it from her.
Yeah.
In the sense of just that compassion. And so my dad, he remarried after about 3 or 4 years. I had a stepmother. She was instrumental in being able to help me and assist me, being that part that I lacked, did not have that, didn't have to worry about that stability of the family.
Yes.
And so it was very, I can't say that. I mean, because I was the youngest of 4. And I have a stepsister, which we're very close. But, it was always in me to give. And I just needed to understand how. I needed to understand that I had something unique that no one else has, because the mere fact that I'm here in a single, and look, I'm in a one position, one location, this place that I'm in called Juan, this body in time and space. It's the only one. I'm the only one that there ever will be, that will be the last one. And I have to have something to do with this.
Yeah. Yes.
And so that's basically the drive behind it, is, wanting to make a difference.
Yes, yes. And talking about, wanting to make a difference, you wrote a wonderful book titled Love Made Simple, a guide to inner peace, contentment, and success. So can you tell me more about this book, and what was the inspiration behind this book?
Well, that was just it. It was basically, it was the long and short of it is, I've been in religion all my life. And religion has a lot of layers to it. And which made it kind of confusing. But the very core of it was love. And love is the thing that I wanted to make simple, make it very simplistic, because throughout those layers made it confusing.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for a way to make that situation, or that concept of love, simple. And so I went on this journey, and my journey lasted me a long time to getting me to this written point.
Yeah.
To the point where I believe that if we implement certain attitudes of love into our lives, that we can generate the actions of love in the world. And that's what I believe we fail to realize, is that love requires an action. And so that was the action, that goal that we wanted to reach, that love was the system that allows you to get there. So in my journey, I realized that success normally followed, natural success followed an attitude that resembled love.
Mm.
And I've identified a lot of those attitudes and ascribed them to love so that you would be able to see them in that vein where you would understand, hey, if I implement this attitude, I will get this result. And that's basically what the book was about. I break the book down by stages in your life.
Mm.
At the end of each chapter, we talk about how you can use that particular attitude or characteristic of God or of love in that stage in your life and how you gain that benefit from it. And it's broken down into 4 parts: teenagers, young adults, adults, and seniors. Because we all, at every stage in our life, have a purpose.
Yeah.
We have something that we're building on. Even to the point when we're at seniors, we have a purpose of investing back into the younger generation, the next generation, to the younger people. And so that was what it was. It was to give a guide on life, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And it was on a way in which we all could relate to, something called life.
Yes, that's beautiful. So for someone out there, what is your definition for love? How will you define love?
How would I define love?
Yes.
Love is just that. It's the ability to put actions, to make things practical, to make things, to put actions to your words. It's the ability to show your actions to others.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've had people ask me, what does it mean to have, what does success mean? But it's amazing because I've never actually had someone ask me, what's my definition of love? Because it's basically the application of being able to show yourself to someone else. It's to be able to show yourself to someone else, because apart from being spoken or saying it, it's very abstract. Because you can basically use it in any way you want.
Yeah.
But the actual application is to being able to demonstrate to someone else who you are and the way you feel about something to someone else.
Yes. I think from the from the Christian background and from the Christian perspective, we say that love is God, or God is love, and we are supposed to love one another. But because of your experience and studies, I wanted to know what your own personal definition of love is, and that is, being able to show yourself and being able to put action to your words, for example, and being able to prove yourself, right?
Yeah. And see, and that was the thing about it. We've talked about, when you brought up love, God is love. That's a very abstract statement. Okay, I can't see, I don't know. I hear I'm supposed to, but how do I apply that? That's basically the genesis behind the practical application of love. Okay, putting actions behind our words is what we need to put in place, because we've got to show this thing. We've got to show it.
Yeah.
It's got to manifest itself.
Yes.
And it's in this time called life that you're to manifest it.
Yes. So how can we use love as the foundation of our lives, and how does it work for you and I?
Well, that's just it. If we begin to apply these attitudes in our lives,
yes,
we can walk in this thing. Because every day we need an attitude that we always are operating out of an attitude.
Yeah.
Our actions come out of an attitude. Everything results come out of attitude. And we can't avoid attitudes. But if we put our minds in the right attitude, we walk in love. We walk in it.
Yes.
And it's manifested and it's shown to others as we walk in it. It's just not something that we say, it's something that we do. You can see it in my actions. If we want to go back to a scripture, it says, love without works are dead. We got to put it to action.
Yeah. That's right.
Attitudes get them. Put it in action.
Yes. And from what you just said now, I have a question. Like, for example, if I have an attitude that does not show love, how can I shift or change this attitude of mine in order to show love? How can I work on myself to have an attitude that shows love to other people?
I have about 7 attitudes that if you can get them into your life, they will begin to change the way you view things. That will in turn change the way you act, which is in turn will create the outcome that you're looking for. Okay, so one of them is the attitude of a sacrifice. That's a mindset that you have to understand, that you've got to change the way that you view things. And because audibly, all we're looking for here is a change of perspective. You know, if we change the perspective on what we're looking at or looking through or how we see something, it will change our outcome. Okay? And so sacrifice is one, humility is another one, discipline is another one, responsibility is another one, tenacity is another attitude, courage is an attitude, and the final one is discipline. Did I say discipline?
Yes.
Caring is an attitude. See, these are things that we can, it will transform our opinions and our perspectives on any situation. I mean, transformation happens when we change our attitudes.
Yeah. Yes. Wow, that's true. So for over 30 years, you have studied organized religion to find the elements that unite humanity, and also you shared this information or this message with those who need it. So why do you think most religions feel resistive when it comes to the message of love? And how can we separate this message of love from the practice of love?
Here's the thing. This is when I was talking to you about the layers that are in religion.
Yes.
Because religion is probably the only place we even hear about love. We don't even hear about it. I mean, there's no class that you take in school called love. You know, the closest you might get to it is humanities. But the fact of the matter is nobody teaches on the concepts or the things that allows humanity to exist, and that's love. Okay, so basically, if we're looking at it from the perspective that we're only hearing it from in religion, we've got to be able to peel back the layers of religion to be able to understand the differences between religion and the message. Okay, religion is a business. It's a business. Okay, at its root cause, I mean, it's a business. And there's this message that it presents that you have to begin to separate the two so that you can begin to understand that the business has a responsibility to you and I as parishioners. But then the message, I have to be able to interpret and understand the message for myself. And be able to establish the message and how it relates to me being in this human state. And so what I looked at and how I looked at it was like, okay, where is the common denominator in all humanity as it relates to love.
Mm.
You know, there is no one person in humanity that love doesn't address, that doesn't, is not connected by, it's not connected to.
That's true.
Whether you're in Germany, in America, in Asia, in Australia, in wherever you are, we have that bond of humanity connected.
Mm.
And love is the thing that binds us all together. And so we have to realize that no matter how we choose to relate to it, that it's all the same.
Mm. Yeah, yes. So love is the basic of humanity. It's what defines each and every one of us. It's what we as individuals or as human beings need as a core of our lives.
It's the thing that connects us together. You
Mm.
can't, I can't separate myself from you through humanity.
Mm.
I can't, there's no way that I can separate myself from you. It's impossible.
Mm.
But we live in a world that's divisive.
Mm. Yes.
At every level, and so many different levels.
Mm.
But at the level of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
we can't be broken apart.
Yeah, that's true.
And love is that tool that weaves and that binds us.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
We cannot be divided by love.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And your in your book, your book is just like a manual that that creates this alignment that helps us to align our abilities to gain clarity of mind and of soul together. So how can we align ourselves, and how can we be able to gain clarity in our mind and soul to make love much more simpler and not just confused and complicated.
Well, I think that that's the whole point. I mean, if you desire to understand life,
Mm.
if you understand, and that's the rudiment of love, is just understanding life.
Mm.
You know, you said it and we talked about it earlier as it relates to making a difference.
Yes.
You know, if we don't understand the platform of life, because that's what this is, we're all experiencing this thing, this life platform. And in everything that exists, everything has a purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing around you that's not, that there's by chance. Everything was systematically in place for a purpose.
Yes.
And once we realize and understand that every one of us have a duty to the next generation, just as the previous generation had a responsibility to us. They could have blew that thing up before we were born.
True.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we have a responsibility to the next generation. And that takes a sense of sacrifice, humility, again, going back to those attitudes.
Yeah.
That realizes that we have a space and time to invest into the next generation so that humanity continues.
Yes.
See, and love is the key. We've got to be able to understand that is the essence that we have to share with the next generation. Because if we don't, it's going to continue or head down a way that is going to be more harmful to the following generation. So we have a responsibility to the next generation, and we have to own that. Mm-hmm. We have to own it. And I don't know if many of us have ever heard or have ever accepted the fact that this experience that we are engaged in is a temporary experience that we have to sow it back into the next generation.
Yeah.
We invest this experience
Mm.
into the next generation.
Mm.
We've got to put our heads around that,
Mm.
that life has a purpose.
Mm.
And here's the thing, and it's the same for every one of us. We have different uniquenesses in how we will do it, but ultimately, we have to love each other for the sake of humanity.
Mm.
It's the love for humanity.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And so if we can share that message, if people get that message, we begin to think differently. We begin to view things differently.
Mm.
And it's only because of the way we see things that causes us to act in a certain way or not.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is to bring action of love into the earth, into humanity, to preserve humanity for the sake of humanity.
Humanity, yes. So we have to love each other. We have to love one another for the next generation, for the next generation, for our younger ones that are coming up, for the upbringing.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple.
Yes.
If we show love and we love one another, then we make practical something abstract in that ability to show it, to actually show it. We're not basically just talking is cheap, but we have to show it in our actions. And then we can begin to see the benefits in the next generation.
Yes, yes, yes. So from our understanding, the presence of love, creates an existence or creates an opportunity for hope, for us to hope for a better future or for the next generation or for a better humanity or a better world around us.
But also, in addition to that, it brings us fulfillment.
Yeah.
It brings us fulfillment.
Yes.
Because I have a gift that you don't have. And when I give it to you, it makes you better. And it gives me validation that what I have is what you needed.
True.
And that's fulfillment to me because now I have value. And we all have it.
Yes.
We all have value. Just like me and this opportunity that you've given me to share my book and my information on your podcast. We're exercising the concept of ability of love, because now you've offered me a platform to share a message to your audience.
That's true.
That's love.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes. So can you teach me some growth or some self-reflection and mindset practices that could help me, put me on the path of hope or love?
Well, I think the biggest one is as it relates to, because there's a big process, but the biggest thing is the understanding. Oh boy, I guess let's say the simplest one is if we want to start doing introspection.
Yeah.
Just begin to, on the inside, just ask the question, why?
Why?
Why? I think if we would be more willing to ask ourselves why, I think we'll begin to digest or to dive into who we really are and what makes us who we are and what ticks. Because ultimately, we won't desire to want to do something for somebody else if we don't know who we are. So if we could begin to ask ourselves the question, why? We do so many things every day.
Yeah.
But we need to just stop and ask ourselves why. Why did I do that? And here's the thing. If the reason why we're doing is to fulfill a selfishness in ourselves, we're never going to be fulfilled by trying to feed that.
Yeah.
Because as I shared with you earlier, fulfillment comes in the ability to be able to give and it be received. See, fulfillment comes from to be able to give what you have
Mm-hmm.
and it's received, and it brings you, the giver, fulfillment.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's true.
You know, these are the parts of about success that I like to call it. See, success is nothing more than peace
Mm-hmm.
with contentment, having your needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And contentment is the ability to be able to understand and operate within your abilities, not trying to be compared or operate outside and into somebody else's abilities,
Yeah.
but understanding what you have,
Mm-hmm.
and what you have is sufficient,
Yeah.
and that somebody needs exactly what you have.
Mm-hmm.
So understand that, you have enough, but it doesn't preclude you from gaining more by striving to learn and to grow and to develop into something else, but always be content with where you are. Okay?
Yes.
So that you know that there's someone
Mm-hmm.
right where you are that needs what you have.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. Wow. That means I have to be mindful of everything I do every day. Like you said, like I should know the why. Why I'm
Yes.
taking an action.
Just ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Just ask the question why.
Yes. Yes. So are there like some methods that we could use to confidently navigate all stages of life to propel us, to greater success? Like earlier you mentioned of success and fulfillment, that comes through love. Are there like some methods we could use to, confidently navigate all stages of life to get greater success in life?
Well, I mean, other than the book that I have there, the book, I give you, break it down in the stages for every
Yes.
point of your life, some of
Yes.
the things that you can gain out of those stages by
Mm.
doing having those attitudes and those characteristics.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think um, that is my formula
Mm. Yeah.
for it. Understanding all of what I've shared with you today, and I basically have touched on everything. Um, there is a systematic way
Mm-hmm.
to go through those things, though,
Yeah.
so that you can get to where you're desiring. Because I tell you, the biggest one is overcoming fear.
Mm. Fear.
Fear.
Yeah. That's a big topic. How do we overcome fear?
Yeah. If you can get over, and the steps that I offer and I share with you, um, to understand life,
Mm-hmm.
and that it is an experience,
Mm.
and that it is a temporary experience,
Mm.
knowing that the end of that experience is the investment into eternity,
Yeah.
which implies that you've invested yourself
Mm.
into a legacy. You've placed yourself into a legacy that can never be changed,
Mm.
that will be in humanity's DNA
Mm-hmm.
forever.
Yeah. That's true. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I mean, that's better than any Hall of Fame that I know.
Yeah, you're right. You're very right. So I'm going to place the information to your book in the show notes for this episode. So I encourage everyone to get a copy of the book to get to know about the methods and the steps that could be used to achieve greater success in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'll encourage everyone.
One of the things I want to also share with you is that I'm also a founder and a executive director of a nonprofit called Clear Journey, where we make your life journey clear.
Mm.
And one of the things we do is try to educate teenagers and young adults in life skills, including financial literacy, to be able to make real sound decisions and solve problems in their lives, so that they can reach those high goals and expectations that they have in life.
Yeah.
And I just want to also offer that to any of, we have a newsletter now. It's called Flash Report, that people can just email me at info@juanleetheauthor.com,
Mm-hmm.
and we will send that to them for free, no problem. Just to give you some some additional encouragement, because this particular newsletter is having to do with confidence.
Mm.
And I think that's something that we all need to have to be able to maneuver through life.
Mm. That's true. That's very good. That's awesome. So I'm going to place this email address also in the show notes for this episode, info@juanlee.com. We'll also be placed in the show notes. Everyone could just copy or click on the link and write an email to Juan Lee. That'd be awesome. So,
Yep.
from your years of study, you uncovered a truth that everyone is ultimately searching for acceptance and joy in life. That's what we are all searching for. So, how can we use love to find acceptance and joy?
It's very interesting. It's about being compassionate.
Mm.
You know, when you care, again, I tell you, all of these things, if you care,
Yeah.
then you will begin to manifest that joy and happiness,
Mm.
because those types of things rebound back to you.
Mm.
They do. And the whole circle of love is that when you give it, it's returned. Now, that's the whole circle. And that doesn't mean that you're always going to get the same type of the reoccurring acts from other people. But the fact of the matter is that that's the way this process of love works.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not dependent upon someone to give you back what you want. You own those. You own joy.
Mm.
You own happiness.
Yeah.
You know, it's within your attitude to own those things.
Mm.
If there is, if there is, if you're unhappy or you are unfulfilled,
Yes.
love fills those voids with one of the pillars that I talk about. And I'm developing a course, as a matter of fact, that I would like to share with you. And one of the pillars is self-improvement, self-development,
Mm.
and how love gives you the wherewithal and the directions that you need to develop yourself.
Yeah.
When you know what it is that you're trying to accomplish in this life,
Yeah.
it makes trying to develop yourself a little bit clearer, because you're unique. No one else can ever give to humanity what you have to offer to it.
That's true.
And when you see things through that vision, through those glasses, you begin to want to develop yourself into a point where you have something to give, because you want to be able to identify yourself, understand who you are. You want to be able to develop who you are.
Yeah.
You first got to accept who you are.
Mm.
And that's going to take some humility,
Mm.
because if you see some things that you don't particularly like, you got to not try to avoid them.
Mm.
You got to be willing to confront them face head on.
Mm.
I mean, like the thing about my learning disability,
Mm.
I was 37 years old before I learned that I had a learning disability.
Mm.
And up until that point, I was trying to hide it. I was trying to hide it. I was trying to, because I was comparing myself to somebody else. And I wasn't somebody else. This is what I have, and I have to offer what I have. And if it's not like somebody else, that's fine. But what I have is sufficient. It's necessary and it's important. And that's what I begin to understand and begin to operate out of, is what I have, not what I don't have, not what someone else has.
Yeah, right. Yes. That means love makes us, accept ourselves for who we are. Love tells us you are Juan Lee, you are unique just the way you are, and you are the perfect version of yourself. Don't compare yourself to anyone. That's what love does to us.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So that way,
Absolutely.
yes, in that way of accepting ourselves, that way we get joy into our life, because we feel at peace with ourselves. We feel we can accept everything, our flaws, our strengths, our weaknesses, just the way it is, and that way joy comes into our life. Mm.
That's where joy is. That's
Yes.
where joy is and happiness is
Yeah.
because you know that not only what you are, what you have,
Mm.
you have something to bring fulfillment to back to yourself because you have something to give.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't have joy because we don't know what we have to give. We don't
Mm.
know what we have to offer.
Yeah.
But when we accept to take ownership of it, man, you go out there and you give it. And I'm gonna tell you, you can just take this as an example. Somebody ever asked you for something that you had to give and it didn't make you feel good to be able to give it to them?
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If somebody asks you something, it's like patting yourself on the back. I got you.
Yeah.
You know, I got what you need.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly that type of reoccurrence that allows us to feel like he didn't get that from nobody else but you.
Mm. Yeah. True. And one gets that fulfillment from that. Yes, I was able to help someone out. I was able to do
Yeah.
something.
But I see it's an attitude thing.
Mm.
You know, instead of we wanting to hold on to what we got,
Yes.
it's about giving it away that
Mm.
brings the fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about getting.
True.
It's about being able to give.
Mm.
I heard something many years ago. The only way you're able to give something is that you have it.
Yes.
So never be complaining about being able to give something away because you can't give something that you don't have.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Wow, that's so deep. That's so deep. Thank you so much, Lee. Thanks so much, Juan Lee. I was calling by your last name. Thanks so much, Lee. Juan Lee. What's the best way to connect and work with you? Like for a listener out there who really wants to like contact you, maybe get on your newsletter, for example, or even ask more questions that we're not able to cover in this podcast episode. What's the best way to
Hey,
connect and work with you?
you can reach out to me specifically at info@juanleetheauthor.com.
Mm.
Or you can reach me on LinkedIn at Juan Lee.
Yeah.
You can reach me on Twitter at Love Made Simple.
Mm-hmm.
You can also reach me on IG at Juan Lee Author.
Mm.
And the last one is Facebook, and that's Juan Lee Author also.
Awesome.
But yeah, feel free to reach out. I have no problems with like I said, I will be hopefully by the first part of the quarter, we'll be releasing a course that really goes through the processes of understanding how love really transforms us.
Yeah.
And really can begin the practical application of love in
Yes.
our lives.
We'll be looking forward to that. We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it also.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juan. I really appreciate everything I was able to learn from you today. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much also. Appreciate it.
Yes.